Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Harley Quinn Season 3. So Harley Quinn is a show I've never actually talked about. I mentioned only once when I was talking about Swamp Thing. And like I talked about how they wanted to have Batman go down on Catwoman, and I talked about how stupid and nasty it was to have a cartoon porn and everything and ridiculous. They didn't do that, but Lord Jesus, they did something else. It's almost like they had the hero gasm moment. Well, actually, they did have the hero gasm moment from the boys and everything in this season. So, Harley Quinn is a show I used to really love. Season 1 is my all-time favorite, back when it was on DC Universe and everything. And I miss DC Universe. It wasn't great, but at least you got to watch a lot of older classic DC comic book shows. Like, I remember when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, I remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting in the living room. It was Saturday afternoon. All my cartoons had went off, and I'm sitting down in front of the boob tube TV, and I turned to like channel 5, and there it was, like the Adventures of Superboy, live action television show. And like I really don't remember much about this show at all. And so DC Universe was the only streaming site that had it, and HBO Max don't even have it. And I really want to rewatch it to remember stuff, but all I can do is look for clips on YouTube, and that's about it. And so, like, I kind of missed that streaming site. But anyways, I fell in love with the Harley Quinn season 1. It was amazing. I bought it on DVD. Then season 2 came out, and I particularly did not like that season. I hate what they did to Kite Man. And they did that only to make the fans happy because the fans was pissed in season 1. Why? Okay. In the comic books, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are on again, off again girlfriends. It's the only time we've ever seen them together because in animation they weren't allowed, even though that was the sole purpose of bringing them together, but that was a kid show back in the day. And so when it didn't happen in season 1 and they made Ivy fall in love with Kite Man and everything, this infuriated a lot of those fans. And so the showrunners are like, all right, we're gonna make it up for you in season 2. So then what did they do? They forced that relationship in season 2. They broke up Kite Man and Ivy by having Ivy cheat on her with Harley Quinn. And then it was revealed that Ivy has loved Harley ever since she first met her. But there's no indication of that in season 1 because she just looks at her as like a little sister and everything, somebody who she has to protect and look after and everything. But it was never romantic. There was never no, that's what, like I said before, it pissed fans off. There was never no romance. So it's like, I don't care if they have like a relationship in the show. I just don't like the way they did it. I don't like it being forced on the show. And I don't like what happened to Kite Man. That was crummy. And then for him to just be like, oh, okay, whatever, I'm fine with it, whatever. Like, no, it made him look like a punk. I mean, it's bad enough everybody makes fun of him, but then to have that happen to him, he had one of the hottest women in the world and she dumped him and everything. Oh, but don't worry, he's supposed to get his own animated show. I don't want to see that. He's lame and everything. But I feel bad for him. So anyway, and of course in this season he's a pushover again because he has a new girlfriend and doesn't even care about Ivy no more. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? But then also I didn't like season 2 because I didn't like the storyline they went into. They went into it to where Batman's I think he's indisposed for some reason. I can't really, it's been a long time since I watched it. Something, the Justice League is stuck inside a magical book and criminals are now taking over Gotham. And they cut off different sections of like, the city and they rule it and everything. A lot of memorable villains that I love died in season 2, which totally sucked. The Joker had a second acid bath, and then so he's a normal person, but they had to resurrect him again. They had to figure out like something about where the book is so they can get the heroes out because Harley screwed up. I also didn't like how overpowered Harley was in season 2. She was taking down some major villains that could literally whoop her easily, but she was just taking them out left and right. And you have to remember, she's like 110-pound woman with a baseball bat. How in the world is she's able to like defeat all these supervillains? And not only that, but I think she beat up not Bane, but a woman who had Bane's venom. So she's basically a female Bane. And how in the world was she able to do that? Not to mention, she doomed the entire world with the whole dark side thing, just to prove that she's a bad villain. And then I think somehow she defeated Darkseid somehow. I can't remember how. And it's just like, no, she was too powered. So season 2, even though it has some cool moments, is not particularly my favorite and stuff. But I like it a whole lot better than season 3. Season 3 is not terrible by no means. It's just season 3 seems very pointless and everything. Every episode just seemed very pointless. Like, what was the literal point from the narrative of season 1 and season 2? And so I know that the you know what virus screwed everything up. It took about 2 years for this show to come out. And in 2 years, they could have came up with a better storyline, but they didn't. And so I just literally kept watching every episode, just thinking this episode is all right, but it's pointless. It doesn't serve nothing. And then this happens and this happens. But what is the literal point? Then they had an episode that was focused entirely on the Joker and Jim Gordon. And I'm just kind of like, why is this episode in here? It's pointless to everything that's going on. Like, what is it supposed to be, like a backdoor pilot or something like that? And so I'm just like, I feel like I'm wasting my time and wasting money on HBO Max. I've never been a fan of HBO Max and everything. And so I remember last season, season 2, I think they had an episode that did not focus on Harley and she barely showed up. I don't remember what happened though. 'Cause I'm trying to just block everything out from season 2 in my mind because I love season 1 so much. And so my favorite episode actually in this season is episode 8 until the ending. Episode 8 was great. I'll get into that later. And so like, I also don't like in this season how they treated Batman. They literally pissed all over that dude. I'm just like, why would you do that? Like, why and everything? It's just like, in season 1, I barely remember him showing up. And when he did, it was for an important reason. He was very serious like he always is. But he had a tiny comedic moment when it came down to Damian. Then in season 2, he started popping up more. And then in season 3, he's in it a lot. Just to be made fun of and everything. And look like a wimp. And I hate that crap. And so basically in season 3, what it is the aftermath of Harley and Ivory getting together in season 2. Now they're together, they're happy. They said they're on their honeymoon. Did they get married? I don't remember that. I'm trying to block out season 2. But let's just say they got married. Sure, why not? But I don't see no ring on their finger, so I guess they're just together. And so now they're finally together. They're finally happy. They're constantly making out. They don't have to sneak around no more. But, you know, they don't have a place to live, so they're bopping around till they live in Catwoman's place. Catwoman is living with Bruce. And so you think, okay, fine. This season we're going to see their relationship, how great it is and everything, how much they love each other, like they keep saying they do. But then you notice something this season. Harley is actually barely in this season. It mostly focused on Ivy, and Harley is very annoying this season. Even to the point where she gets on the nerves of Poison Ivy. Like, you constantly see Poison Ivy trying to, like, get rid of her and everything. So I'm just kind of like, okay, you didn't have the relationship in season 1. You forced it on season 2 because of the fan backlash. So why in season 3 you're making it to where it looks like they should never be together because they're just wrong for each other. They don't have no chemistry and everything. They get on each other's nerves, mostly Harley and stuff. And, so I don't understand that missed opportunity. Why not make this the greatest thing ever? But they made it into the most annoying thing ever. Basically, they're on their honeymoon and Poison Ivy's looking like sad and everything. So Harley takes her to a place that not Harley, but Ivory once tried to like terraform the Earth and everything. But it failed, so she feels like a failure. So Harley tells her just work harder and you'll do it and everything. But then Harley messes up like she always does. She kidnaps Amanda Waller. Suicide Squad tries to help her. And so like it destroys that place that Ivory was working on. So when they go back to Gotham, she's trying to recreate the formula, but she's having a hard time. And so this is when Harley gets on her nerves because she's just being like an annoying butthead and everything. And so this is when Ivy keeps trying to push her away and everything like that. She's finally able to crack the formula at one point, and it accidentally spills on Frank, her little I think it's a pitcher plant. And so he's now Ubered up, and the thing is, she wants to terraform all the dead plants in the ground to bust through the cement in the buildings and terraform the earth into like basically like the rainforest almost. So while all this is going on, at some point Frank gets like captured and she doesn't know who did it. So they go to the Court of Owls because they're having a party, and this is where the giant orgasm thing happens. An orgy and everything. So it's an orgy of like supervillains, but Bruce Wayne is there because he's there with Catwoman. And so basically, let's get into Gordon real fast. So basically, he's just running for mayor, and they really make him look terrible. Now, season one, the reason why he was such an idiot and a dork, and so because he was stressed out. All the villains in the city have just stressed him out to the point where they made him the comedic butt of every joke in season one. That made sense. In season two, he tried to clean himself up and get a little bit better, but now in season three, he's running for mayor and he's still acting like an idiot. And he's having Two-Face, of all people, be his campaign manager. Even to the point where he's taking money from like the mob and everything like that to pay for his campaign. Batgirl sees this Barbara Gordon and she's just totally okay with it and everything. So then now let's get into Bruce. Basically, Bruce is desperate for the attention of Selena Kyle. Selena treats him like crap. He's a great boyfriend to her, but she makes him rub her feet. And then when she ain't satisfied with that, she just like berates him and everything. And that's all she does all season, just berates him. And then when she breaks up with him, he's constantly buying her gifts and everything to get her back. But she just thinks to him, oh God, he's so desperate and everything. And I'm like, why would you do that to him? He's acting like Howard from the Big Bang Theory. And that's just so weird and everything. Like, why would they do that to the Batman? After how cool they made him in season one. Then we finally get to see Nightwing in this. And he's just a whimpering, blubbering baby who crawls in a ball and cries and everything. And it's just weird. And so, like, Barbara, who's actually voiced by Kaylee Cuoco's sister. I always wonder why in season 2 they sounded so much alike. I thought it was just Kaylee voicing her, but no, it's her sister. And so Barbara, because see, Harley has no friends, and Barbara has no friends either, and Barbara wants to be friends with that of Harley, a villain of all reasons, but because of what happened in season 2. But Harley wants nothing to do with her and basically tells her, I don't want to be your friend, leave me alone, and they start fighting. Anyways, so Ivory has a problem. She's trying to figure out where Frank is and everything. So she's trying to use the green. That doesn't work. So then Nora Freeze comes out all drunk and like slutty and everything and making out with like dudes and just wants to have like a total rager and stuff like that. So they go to find Swamp Thing, and her and Swamp Thing hook up only for her to say it was just a booty call and everything. And he gets furious, but then he helps Ivory, tells her, you had the power all inside, you just had like a roadblock. So she finds out where Frank is at, and Bruce Wayne has him. So it's like he says, like Ivory done something to him and he needs to figure out what. Okay, fine, he's doing a superhero thing. But the way they make it seem is like we know he's the superhero. We know he's the one who's supposed to save the day. So he's supposed to figure out what she did to Frank. But they make it seem like he's the villain, and Ivory and Harley Quinn are the good people who have to rescue Frank. And that's so flipped the script and screwed up. Especially how Harley's been murdering people left and right with her baseball bat this season. In season 1 and 2, she didn't do that much because she was still being a villain, but she didn't want to go down that dark path of being a villain, but she still wanted to be respected as one. Now she's just murdering folks left and right. And it's almost like, what the heck happened to the writing this season? And so, like, then, Harley, like, kidnaps Bruce. And Selena's like, ugh, I do not want to be here when he wakes up, and just leaves him there to be tortured and everything. Well, torturing doesn't work, so they have to find Psycho. Speaking of Psycho and the boys, they're barely in this season. Psycho, of course, isn't in there because he's still in Arkham because of what happened last season when they turned him evil, which pissed me off because I really like that character. King Shark is barely in this episode. In the episode, he's barely in the season, but he has one major story arc, and that's about it. But other than that, is he's just like bounces in and he bounces out of the show. Same thing with Clayface, who's another one of my favorite characters. He just bounces in and bounces out and doesn't really have a real storyline. He just wants to play Thomas Wayne in like a movie and stuff, and he serves no purpose. Him and King Shark serve no purpose this season. Bane shows back up wanting revenge because Harley won't get him his pasta maker back. I love Bane, but they just made him more childish than normal, but he's so hilarious. And so the last episode, like I said, is the greatest one. They use Psycho to go inside Bruce's head, and I love this. No matter which path they take in his brain, all he sees is Joe Chill murdering his parents. And it's so traumatizing, and it's so Batman, you know what I'm saying? And so Harley prevents the parent, no, she prevents Bruce from seeing that. So of course it alters stuff in his brain and everybody else gets sucked out. But Bruce wants Harley to stay in the head. So she tries to help young Bruce. And so there she discovers his secret as Batman. We get to see some clips that are reminiscent from the Adam West Batman show to that of Batman Returns. And I hate what they say. Bruce is all like, yeah, I had some weird times back then. Tim Burton's Batman Return and Adam West Batman are not weird times. Okay, yeah, maybe Adam West Batman, but it was still amazing and everything. And I hate when they do that crap. It reminds me of Turtles Forever, that epic crossover through the multiverse, where they constantly made fun of the 80s Turtles from the cartoon series. And it's like, yeah, they were comedic and silly, but wasn't that silly and stuff. And I hate when they do that to older medium and crap. And so she's helping him with his trauma and his pain. And there's an event that happened when she was the Joker's sidekick. So that was like a cool scene. And so, Joe Chill is still chasing them and everything. And so when we get to the mansion part, he chases them down. Tiny Bruce reveals to Harley that he stole Frank because he's gonna resurrect people from the dead, and she's all like, but Frank can only resurrect plants. And he's like, no, I changed them with science. And so we know what's gonna happen. He's gonna try to bring his parents back to life, and that's just ruins Batman's character for me. It shows that yes, he still yearns for them, but still the ramifications of making a solemn Grundy, you know what I'm saying? And so we find out that Joe Chill in his memory is actually him because he suggested they go walking down a dark alley because he got inspired by the Mark of Zorro. And so he feels he's responsible for his parents' death. After they go back to the present and everything, they're all tied up because the Bat family came in and rescued them. And so Bruce, along with Alfred's along with this, and the whole Bat family is okay with this too. They resurrect Martha and Thomas Wayne, coming out like skeletal zombies, and it ends. And I'm just kind of like, what the world? This goes against everything Batman and the Bat family is. It makes them look like the ultimate villains and stuff. And I just don't get why they're like doing that. And so this has been renewed for season 4. And I was a little afraid it might because of David Zaslav and everything. Now, I suspect there's 2 reasons why it got renewed. First reason is because it's been a long time since season 2 because of, you know what, virus. So of course everybody was gonna watch this season. So it got the numbers and the views it needed to get renewed. Second, it left off on a really good cliffhanger and everything. So yeah, I will tune in for season 4 at some point whenever it comes out, but I just want this show to go back to being as great as it was in season 1. Now, I'll never review season 2. If I ever do, it's just because probably I'm bored. Season 1, I do plan on reviewing because I love that season just too much and everything. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.